Hello and welcome to a complete fucking ignoramus. Fails biology to own the trains people. So what happened was this moron right here, where am I, asked what a female was. Now, I know the answer because I passed biology, but this guy didn't. So they're talking about like this event, right? Like where a woman, had a bit more testosterone, and they're calling her a man because they're fucking soy boys who like have no jawline, and they're sad about that. But anyway, so this guy says born with XY chromosome. No, that's actually not true. It was XXY, and they're a girl because they have these things known as ovum, which is what defines your sex. It's not their chromosomes. Those are human dependent. Not every organism has those, but every organism has ovum and sperm because that's what defines your sex. Your chromosomes define everything about the sex, including the gametes. But the gametes are your sex. Like they are your sex. It's not they define it. They are, right. So if she is a woman, ovum, then how can she be a man? She objectively isn't. If you look at biology, having ovum is a female. That's what biology says, and I say that, and then I said, also correct them on the chromosomes they said because it's actually XXY, which is a bit of a different thing. Because having an extra chromosome in the sex category, in any other category, it's different. But having an extra one in the sex category specifically, it's what's known as a superficial one. And the reason for it is because it's the last chromosome, so it has the least involvement in like your actual functions of DNA and brain function and all that. So like if you have an extra chromosome in your I think it's your 21st, like I think it's trisomy 21, right? Where you have three 21st chromosomes, that causes Down syndrome, which is very bad. And so like that's a thing, right? Trisomy 21 is a real thing. Like it involves extra chromosomes, but this is not the same thing. This is like a rare thing. This is an even rarer condition, by the way. This is very rare. Intersex people are very rare, but intersex people are not technically in between. We call them a bit of an in between because it's harder to define them. But since she has produced gametes, it makes it a lot easier to define that she's just a woman. She's just flat out a woman. She produces ovum, not sperm. She's a woman. When she doesn't produce gametes, it's harder because like you have like the chromosomes have a say as well, but like the gametes have the finals. And as in, if you have gametes, you are whatever they are because there's only one or the other you can have. But you can also have neither, and that neither is what allows these other definitions to creep in. But gametes are the biological definition, and how do I prove this? I give them a biology textbook. Also, like, what's the other? Oh yeah. So anyway, yeah, like I literally give them a biology textbook, which I also give like a badass warning label on. They said it includes information on evolution, aka the foundation of all modern biology. It is, by the way, cell structure, germs that look like evil killer robots. The fucking most metal part about virology, by the way. Fucking bacteriophage, look them up. They're fucking badass as hell. They look like the fucking belly button robot from the Matrix. Fucking awesome looking creatures. They're technically not creatures because they're not actually alive, but like they are and they are. Viruses are pretty cool in many ways. And they defy a lot of things. And then I said anatomically correct plants because plants are usually hermaphroditic, and other facts that prove televangelist wrong. And this is the funny thing. Guess what he does? Well, he asked me, right? Oh, fucking Elon Musk, fucking like hiding it. He asked me, right. I think right here. Can I name a kind that turned into another kind? Well, I answered him twice here. So first I said, yep, see, your parents were human beings, the product of 4 billion years of evolutionary success. You're a small-brained, brutish, monkey-like creature, known in biology as Homo ignoramus creatartus. Yes, I'm bringing back creatard, yes. Since you failed chapter 1 of this textbook, what makes you think you can pass chapter 11? Which, by the way, is where the sex chromosomes are introduced. That's the funny thing. A lot of these people think it's so basic. Why are sex chromosomes introduced 10 chapters after evolution then? Which is where you failed, motherfucker. Like the thing, this guy failed in chapter 1. He's claiming I failed in chapter 11. I actually passed chapter 11. I actually passed the whole class, but he's giving me information from chapter 1 that I passed, that he's failing to acknowledge, and he's saying, well, I fail biology because I made it to chapter 11. I also passed that chapter, but like I'm saying, if we're going to like say someone failed biology harder, I think the motherfucker who failed chapter 1 failed harder than the motherfucker who failed chapter 11. Just saying. I think that's how it works. Anyway, so like they like non-answer. They ask non-question because it's not really a question if you don't define your terms, right? So I said you used a word that had with no common definition that is just in their group, like a kind of card, a kind of computer. It means nothing unless you define kind, which you don't because if you want to, because if when you do this, I win, right? So he says, show me a non-specific thing turned into another non-specific thing, and like I just go on the fact that my icon is AI generated. So I say my icon is an AI image of a dragon, and it can turn it into an AI image of a dog in 0.5 seconds, which I can, by the way. In biology, I can fuck your older sister, aka your wife. I'm fucking going in on the insults, by the way, because this guy is being retarded, and not believing in the foundation of biology, and then fucking calling me like a retarded that like is as dumb as him. Like fuck you, motherfucker. Your wife, and then immediately produce an offspring that is a different kind of human than me or her, because they're produced at conception, and that's the thing. A baby is, because of sexual reproduction, is obviously guaranteed to be different than both of their parents, because that's how it works. Like you're not either one of them, you're more of a sum of their parts, so you're different than them. That's how it works. Because you're not exactly your dad or exactly your mom, you're a fusion basically of them, just like not a perfect one of either, right? And there's also like some things of your own in there as well, but like it's like how it works. It's like basically 3 steps of DNA instead of 1, which is what like asexual reproducing species have, which is why there's so few multicellular asexual species, but so many like in like the the bacteria and other single cellular kingdoms, because when you're single cellular you don't need as much genetic diversity to survive, but when you're multicellular you do. So that's why, right? Anyway, so like I did like basically the same argument there, and he said, so you have witnessed any of those fantastical shape-shifting spectacles that everyone's buzzing out? Like, yeah, you're mistaking evolution for digivolution. That's the funniest thing. Actual animals evolve constantly every time they produce offspring. That's what sexual reproduction is for. It makes every generation more genetically diverse, aka evolved, than the previous. He's like, this is a guy who's like dumb, so he says, that's an adaptation. And I just like show him what the book that defined evolution is. That's another dead end. So then he like goes after me here. Another like quote retreat. He's a fucking coward. He can't like fucking stay in the same lane. So he said, birds have different beaks is not evolution. Now, because you introduced birds, you know what I had to do? I said, well, no, they are a product of evolution, the result of it. Evolution itself is just the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love, because that's really what that's really what evolution is reproduction, right? Now with humans and also birds, it's sexual reproduction, right? But like in other species, it's asexual reproduction. But like in most species that you talk about, it's sexual reproduction, and because of that, that song is like working. And because you mentioned birds, it's like a killer. Like I had to mention that song. And then like what actually determines what happens through evolution is weather, land, local predators and prey, water life, plant life, etc. Basically natural selection, sexual selection, artificial selection, which didn't involve because that requires humans already, other things, right? So like there's like so many factors in biology, which is what makes it hard to like determine evolution and all that. But at the same time, like that's what evolution is. It's just evolution is producing offspring, and then genetics is like predicting how they will produce that one time. And evolution, natural selection on them are theories of how you predict future generations, like 100 generations down the line. That's what evolution biology and all that actually fucking are, by the way. They're predictions on what's going to happen based off what has happened already. Um, and that's what evolution is like basically teaching you. That's what biology is. So like I can I can predict pretty accurately that because this guy had sex with his sister, that he is going to produce a dumbass kid, right? I can I can pretty I can pretty definitively predict that his kid will have a unibrow. I can just predict that. I'm gonna be like Moses here. I'm gonna like predict the rising, the splitting of the Red Sea. I'm gonna do that. But in reality, I'm not. But like, it's like whatever. But what I'm saying is like this guy is just not like he's not gonna have the brightest kid because it's like impossible. He's having sex with his sister. Let's face it. But what's funny is he'll look at that and think, well, I fucked my sister, and my sister fucked my daddy, and my daddy fucked my daughter, and we've all turned out fine. And of course, no, you didn't. But also, yeah, fuck you. Like you're gross. But anyway, like other than that, this guy is just tremendously fucking funny to like make fun of. And yeah, this is all like they're trying to be like transphobic, but fail in biology to do it. And here's my thing: there are plenty of transphobes who actually know biology. This is just not one of them. Because the thing is, actually, I think that's a good way to say it. If you know biology, you're probably not transphobic. You just don't believe in it. Like if you're like Richard like Dawkins or something, you probably just think like it's a little overblown or something, right? This guy has a hate boner because he doesn't understand basic biology. That's the thing. Transphobia, aka hatred of trans people, which out of fear, that's why they have such ridiculous like every one of us is a pedophile, like conspiracy theories, because they fear us. Like they have to make shit up to justify that fear, because that's what hatred is. It's really just fear like manifested, because that's all like an emotion really is. So like hatred is just, and hatred and disgust are all negative emotions effectively are just a product of the punishment system of the brain. There's the reward system of the brain, which is like all your happy emotions, right? And now everything is a balance of it. Like hatred is not entirely negative emotions, so it's not entirely fear. Just like the euphoria is not entirely happy emotions. Like there's a little bit of things in there as well, right? And like that's the thing, right? So there are different emotions which are different balances of pleasure and fear, right? Because fear is technically it's pleasure and pain, but fear is like the most primal response to pain. You don't want to do it to happen again, so fear is there to make sure you don't let it happen again. And then hatred is like you see it happen enough, so you start to develop patterns with that thing even when it doesn't happen, right? It's like when you hate black people, you fear them, and the reason why it's a fear, right, is because you start looking like you like, let's say you were bullied by like a black kid in school, and then like you start to associate every black guy you meet into a hatred of with that one that bullied you in school. Well, that's what the fear is. That's a phobia, right? You're fearing that one guy and manifesting him in all these other guys that aren't him, right? And that's what like the phobia means. Now, people who are just disagreeing on like issues and stuff, right? People who have like legit complaints with the community, which are vast, and like like I'm saying, Richard Dawkins could probably give you a laundry list of actual problems. This guy can't, because he doesn't even know his left foot from his right foot, right? And that's the thing. If you don't know biology, especially if you deny the foundation of it, I'm just gonna clown on you because like you failed that fucking hard. I literally gave him a biology textbook and he denied biology to argue more with me because he didn't like that I defined a woman correctly because I actually passed biology. It's fucking crazy, you know. And like I'm not even saying like all trans people are better at biology than this guy. This guy is probably like better at than like some like you know some like retards I've seen like Ben Shapiro compilation. Let's face it, we've seen some really dumb trans people, right? But the thing is, a lot of them were in college and like they weren't really wanting to debate, and they probably weren't majoring biology either. You know, like this guy is you know talking like he's a biology major with like the knowledge of a fucking like a good way to say is he's has the knowledge of someone working on their GED. So he still hasn't passed basic English and math yet, and he's yelling at me for knowing what I'm talking about. And like that's the issue. Like I don't care if you're creationist, but like don't try to debate someone who actually knows, especially on like an issue where they are passionate about, because they will clown you. I'm passionate about like this topic, especially when related to trans issues, and I clowned on it. The thing is, me like predicting that he was a creationist wasn't a prediction. I just thought it was funny. Like I didn't actually predict it. I said televangelist. I didn't actually know he was one, right? He outed himself as a fucking retard because he thought that was a better move than just admitting, yeah, okay, yeah, gametes are there, you know, maybe like she has like some other biological advantage due to the extra chromosome, but it's not like she's a man. She's more of an intersex woman that like you know it's like he wouldn't have to destroy his entire worldview on that, but because he decided to do it to debate me on the foundation of the book, he lost. By the way, I can just show you the book, right? You know, I can show you like the book. All right, so let's go to the book. Let's go to this book. Yeah, biology 2E, right? This is like a second like thing of biology, right? Let's go to online, right? You go to online. Let's read it, right? So yeah, we got like science of biology, yeah, like you know, concepts, right? Natural sciences, you get the idea. Scientific reason, it like tells you what science is and shit. Because that's the thing. A lot of people don't even know what that is. Let's concepts of biology, properties of life. Like so it talks about like classes, like order and stuff, right? Reproduction, so it like talks about like different reproductive methods and stuff. Adaptation and all that, right? Oh yeah. Also, yes, this is where, like I'm saying, this is what sex is. It's a form of it's a thing that species produce to like reproduce more genetic diversity. So they produce it through two organisms instead of just one. So they have you know all that from like two species instead of just one, right? I mean two members of the species instead of just one. And like that's what reproduction basically is for sex. But like there's asexual reproduction, but sexual reproduction is usually considered superior due to the amount of genetic diversity it produces, and thus the amount of results it produces, and thus the amount of multicellular species it produces, which is an incredibly large amount. Like almost all life that is multicellular reproduces sexually. That's the thing. It talks about different tissues and stuff, right? So it briefly touches on sex, evolution, and all that here. Here's where like the thing is. Guess where like it goes in here? Sexual reproduction right here, chapter 11. Genetics, chapter 11, right? We do touch about chromosomes in here, right? Like with the stuff here, but like we get the reproduction, sexual reproduction, get the idea. And you know, then we go to heredity and all that, and all this is basically just helping you get to evolution. Evolution, chapter 18, right? But the thing is, really, he failed at chapter 1 because he denies like that it exists rather than just denying concept of it. So that's the thing. He failed this chapter right here, the thing that defines biology. He's saying I'm dumb for failing here, right? But he failed here. I failed here. He failed here. Now I didn't actually fail here. I actually passed all of this. There's a lot of it, right? There's 43 chapters of it just for the main things, and then 4 more for like ecology, which is a little like it's more for like like this is more for like if you want meteorology, but like it's important to know for biology and meteorology anyway. But like this is like like how like life and non-life affect like our biosphere, which is like every like thing, everywhere things live, the atmosphere, how it affects life and all, like the biosphere and all that. It's a lot of things, right? You have to learn, and a lot of that has to do with the weather and climate and stuff. But yeah, it's like all of this is like the main part of biology, and then this is like it's biology for meteorologists. It's still important, like you see, like conservation, like just talking about like how like species going extinct is not good and stuff. You get the idea. Bing bang boom. But that's a biology textbook for y'all, right? This is where like you would learn about the like was it like the fucking meme thing somewhere around here is the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell line. It's probably not in the lineage itself anymore. I think like that's like an old like high school textbook. This is more of like a college level one, which is basically like it's going through the exact same stuff, but like in a much better, clearer way. And like the author is actually allowed to like introduce concepts that your school will not like approve of for kids because like as in like some of this is newer, right? And the thing is, schools are always behind a bit on this stuff because, like high schools and stuff, because they have like a dedicated curriculum, which kind of sucks, honestly. It's one of the problems with like learning biology in school is like you have to relearn it if you ever want to learn it, like actually. But it's like any class. Like physics is the same way. Like you learned physics in high school. Oh boy, you got to learn it in college again. Like everything you learned in there is probably like 90% of that has some wrong things there, here or there, right? And like that's just how this stuff is, right? But yeah, if you like the thing, yeah. Anyway, yeah, sexual reproduction is done through gametes. Now, does that mean that the chromosomes play no role in what it is? No, they play a huge role. But the thing is, they don't have 100% role. Like it's gametes that decide your sex, right? And like gametes that you use to reproduce sexually. But it's not like that's the be all end all. And like also like this is what an X chromosome is. This is a human chromosome. See, so X and Y are human chromosomes, right? They're the human shapes. The reason why I say that is because different animals have different shapes in their chromosomes for their sex, right? So everything you learn about X and Y is not really applicable to every species. It's only really applicable to humans, which is the thing where like a lot of people are like, well, I'm not a fucking mushroom. Well, no one said you were a mushroom. We were saying biology applies to all life. It's the science of life, not the science of human life, right? And especially not the science of human dicks, right? Which is what you think it is. Um, and that's the thing. They don't really know what biology means. They don't really see, oh, it's a study of all life, life science. Well, because bio means life, and ology is like a word we use for a study, right? No, they don't really think of that. It's they don't think it's the study of all life because that, like, they would be like, oh, wait, you're telling me there's a definition, like, there's a science all about all life and not just humans? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like they're very human centric in like their understanding of science and stuff, which is pretty problematic when the field it has nothing to do with people. Like with sociology, neurology, all that, psychology, this is where they think they're like studying, but they're actually studying. They're actually unfortunately studying biology, which is not just about humans, unlike psychology and sociology and all that. But they sometimes use dogs and like in rats and like little things. Like psychology has that one like where the center of the brain, which is actually in, like a lot of like the examples. Let's see a dog, not a person use that because dogs are very trainable, right? They're very smart animals, so you can kind of like do the same experiment, but like you have more of a control variable because a dog, while smart, is dumber than a person. And it's either that or use a retarded kid, and like obviously that's inhumane. So we use a dog because dogs are they're chill and like unlike a retarded kid, they'll enjoy it the whole time, and like they're good people, right? Like dogs are always loyal, right? There's like the other guy might like, like eventually, like if you like do something wrong, right, he'll just like slap you and like choke you out or something. Like which you would deserve, to be fair, because you're experimenting on children and using the mentally ill as your experiment point, and through a way that they did not like specifically sign for. There's a lot of reasons why it's wrong. You could argue that a dog using their dog for the same thing is wrong too, but like I'd say, look, Fido is a lot less human than I am. I'm just gonna say this, like to any vegan that's on here, I like dogs, but I don't like them to the point where I would say that they are equal as humans. A dog is a pet. They're a family member in that, like, you're supposed to love, cherish, and take care of them as a friend, not as a, like, another person. You don't like use them for reproduction. You use them, you pet them, you feed them, you clean up their doo doo, and then like they run around and give you little licks. That's what you want a dog for. It's fun, and when you're sad, like if you're sad, like right, you go like you can talk to them, and like they'll like get a little sit next to you. They'll like get a little groupie in their eyes because they know you're sad, and so they're like listening to you, and they know you need someone to listen to. So like they listen to you. Very good therapy, like animals too. Even when they're not therapy dogs, they're just great at that. Because dogs love their owners. Not that way though. The zealot DKD apparently like he's a furry, right? That thinks apparently like these guys like actually love like humans in a different way. No, they just love you as a friend. Like as a friend, not a fucking homie. You know what I mean? They're not there for sex toys. Zealot DKD. They're there to play play with as a friend, not as a sex partner. Because I say that because there's this guy who like is a 3D artist who used to be a friend of mine. Who used to be a friend of mine because he would constantly bring up the fact that he liked to fuck his dog. It's fucking gross, right? And like it just like every time I'm like, what if this guy watches my video? Because this is a guy who's a big advocate on this shit. I don't know. I do not know why he's not arrested. I've never met him physically, by the way. Otherwise, I would have fucking knocked his fucking clock off. He's a fucking piece of shit. But yeah, that's a thing to note. I don't know where he lives or even his real name, so like I can't actually report him, but like I should, and that's like a problem. But like yeah, hopefully someone knows who the fuck he is, because that guy needs to fucking like get some fucking brain cells checked, and if he can't do it in a doctor's office like I was offering him, he can do it in a jail cell. But that's my point on him, yeah, calling out a guy on a video, dunking on it. This is why I like my content. It's weird as hell, but yeah. But yeah, like basically, like chromosomes obviously affect it, but they aren't it. Like chromosomes cause your sex. They aren't your sex. Your sex is the gametes you reproduce. If your chromosomes match and your genitals match, but your gametes aren't produced, right? So like if you have XX, you have vagina and womb and all that, but you don't produce in your womb. You don't produce, not cervix or whatever. If you don't produce XX like XX chromosomes there through like ovum, right? Through your gametes, then what happens is well, you don't produce ovum, and therefore you aren't like a woman in that regard. So then we go to the next step, which is chromosomes and genitalia, and you get the idea. But if you do, then we stay there, right? You stay there. Wherever the gametes are, you stay. Unless they are neither. In which case, then you go down the line to define male and female, right? And so, like I'm saying, this boxer was defined as a woman through the most important part, the immediate part, the sex cells, right? The sex cells is why the sex sells, is a good way to say it. It's like sex sells because sex sells. I don't fucking know. It's like a little pun, a little biology pun, but yeah. Yeah, so like all this and everything is different. Not different. Everything is like harder to define than like a lot of like young Earth creationists think it is, and this is the issue. They don't actually know the terms you're dealing with. They don't know the science. They deny it off face because it's scary to them, because it's complicated, and it proves that life isn't simple and very easily boxable in. And that fact scares them. That's why they're hateful of people who know it, because that means that they can easily disprove their beliefs. And it's like, whatever. But yeah, I just felt like dunking on that guy. And I figured, like, showing, yeah, like, biology is not as simple as these guys want it to be. Is a good way to end it. See ya.